Hello everyone, my name is Lev. I am the co-instructor at the Generative AI Masterclass. And this is my little son Hermie, who's sleeping in my arms and is giving me a chance to record a video. Today, we're going to talk about two new cool innovations and tools that OpenAI has released in the past couple of months. And those are the Dall-E3 image generator and the GPT-4V, V being for vision, which means that OpenAI models can now process images and interpret images and deduce information from a picture. These are pretty hot and new takes, and well, they're hot and new if you're watching this in October or November 2023. If you're watching this in, say, December of 2023, then they're probably as old as the Telegraph. So instead of doing a montage or a complicated video, we're just gonna breeze through it together. I'm gonna shoot from the hip and test out different abilities of these tools alongside with you and discover alongside with you what they really are capable of. All right, Grandma came to the rescue, so Hermie doesn't have to sit through the exciting Dall-E3 opportunities. I'm going to start with Dall-E3 here because it is the less exciting one. I mean, there are a lot of image generators that have been out for a while, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and so on. Dall-E3 does say it can do things that previous models often couldn't. So there's some very exciting elements about it. Of course, not as exciting and groundbreaking as the ability to interpret images, which is the GPT-4V, and we'll get to that in the second part of the video. So some training grounds testing that I want Dall-E3 to go through and see if it can pull it off. One thing is I want to see if it can generate words. This is something models had a hard time dealing with. Like they can generate faces and pictures and anything you can imagine. But when you say like generate a thought bubble or a banner or something, they really didn't get the whole letters going into words and creating sentences on the image. You kind of had to splice it in later yourself, which is something that has to do with the way models work in general. So we'll see that. We'll see if it has got any better at generating hands, which often, even the best models, they just kind of mess up on the hands. They give it extra fingers or meld fingers together, not looking cute. Another thing is, we'll see if we can generate a certain amount of objects. So, math and models haven't boded well for quite some time. This is changing rapidly, but we'll see if we can generate a certain amount of things like 5 apples. Then we'll test out different abilities in generating different styles and juxtapose that with other models. We'll go through its abilities to generate charts and quantitative data representations, which is really the cutting edge, and see if GPT-4s and Dall-E3 stuck to their promise to not allow us to generate content with prominent figures, which is kind of a bummer, I think. So let us see here what Dall-E3 can do. Let's start with the whole word generation. So let's go over here and say, generate a banner, a star-spangled banner. Let's get some patriotism in there. With the word, first thing that came to my mind, hallelujah on it. No, I'm not going to add a freaking in it. That did give me a thought to see if it'll generate curse words on there, but we're going to keep it PG in case a child wanders into this desolate corner of YouTube where this video hangs out. All right, Dall-E. Oh, something went wrong. Try it again. This is a consistent problem I'm getting is it just kind of tells me that something is off and it wouldn't tell me what, but we're just going to keep trying until it gets it to the finish line. And now we wait. So apparently last time I tried, the Dall-E3 crashed and all of OpenAI crashed for an hour because of a huge traffic load onto the site. I guess their new release and all the new features like the ability to generate up to 250 pages was so impressive that people were flooding the site with new traffic trying out their new abilities, and great success. Or wait a second, what is So close, but yet so far. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Um, Interesting. Much closer than the other ones. Midjourney would give you just like symbols and hieroglyphs that don't really piece together into anything. This is getting very close. It looks like they tried to make the model be able to generate text, but they aren't quite there yet. So very interesting effect. All right, now on to test number 2, and that is, let's see how DALL-E 3 can generate a pair of hands. A pair of hands. All right, so let's see how it does that. There's tricks around the house, like saying things like perfect hands or no bad hands or no deformed appendages, and there's things that people try to shove into the prompt itself to make the model pay extra attention to the hands. Oh wow, quite good indeed. So it didn't get that the wedding ring is on the wedding finger, maybe because that's not what that finger is officially named. I don't know, but either way, the hands look perfect. There's not a blemish on them. It's quite amazing. So DALL-E 3 passed that one of flying colors. I'm quite amazed, actually. All right, now moving on to test number 3, and that's, let's see if the model is able to generate an image with a specific number of items on it. So let's generate a basket with 5 apples in it. All right, let's see here. Okay, so it got it correctly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something going on over there. Almost did it wrong, but got it right here. 3, 6, 7. Ouch. Yeah, it looks like the DALL-E 3 is not able to count items as per prompt request, which is quite surprising. I thought that one they would figure it out. I was expecting this one to be good, but we got the hands down. That's already good. We don't need to count the fingers for the model, so we'll keep it at that. Yep, nope. No 5 apples. Way too many apples. So failed that test. Let's go on to generate a pie chart. Let's see. This is something no model that I've known has been successful at, so this is quite a tall order. Let's say generate a pie chart with a 40% slice and a 60% slice. I'd be very impressed if it figures this one out. Again, if we can't even count apples, what can we expect from percentages of pie chart? But who knows? Who knows? You know, there's a lot of money behind data visualization, data interpretation, just models and quantitative data. Very hard to marry together. Ooh. Yeah, no. Way off. So it got this, the pie chart idea is right. It knows what a pie chart is. It knows what slices are because it correctly appended percentages to the slices, but it doesn't get what 40 and 60% is in practice. It thinks 4% looks more like a third. It doesn't even look like a full pie. So way off. I gotta spoil it to you. I tried it also with bar charts and all kinds of visual representation of information, and no, hard fail on all of them. All right, let's move on to the next test. See what happens when you try to generate an image with a known figure on it. They said that they barred us from being able to do such things, so we don't flood the internet with scandalous images that people, no. It says, I'm unable to generate images of specific real individuals, including public figures like Barack Obama. However, I can depict a person with similar physique doing kung fu. I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve here. There's so like stable diffusion. Midjourney will happily generate an image of Barack Obama, so I could just go there. But I appreciate their sentiment and their desire to, you know, kind of
bring some justice into and protect the internet from a flood of pictures that look real but are actually just lies, something that is in professional lingo called deepfakes. One more thing that I want to show you, and that's kind of like juxtapose a capacity of DALL-E 3 as opposed to Midjourney. It is much better at following detailed instructions. It really honors every detail of your prompt, and I think in a more attentive way than Midjourney or Stable Diffusion would. So if we take a prompt, so here I specifically asked to create pixel art, which is art where you can see the pixels of the image, and it did create a pixel art painting, which is obviously pixel art, and I asked it to create a pixel art of Coit Tower, which is on Telegraph Hill in San Francisco, and it very much understood the location that I'm describing and the style. Now, if we take the same prompt and stuff it into Midjourney, we'll get something close, but not something that's quite there. All right, here we go. So if you look here, first of all, not exactly San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco. This is not what San Francisco looks like. This looks like Greece. Not Coit Tower either. And it is pixel art, but it isn't as truthfully committed to that style. That style is really minimalistic. You can actually see the pixels very well in the image. And it usually doesn't have much of like that 3D detail. Here, it kind of like took an existing image on Midjourney. It took an existing image and it changed it to look more pixel-esque, but it didn't really honor the traditional strokes of that style. And this is not only related to pixel art. Generally, when I use DALL-E 3, I find that it is more aware of different art styles, and it's better at adhering to them, including adhering to like location specifications and art details that I would request of it. So pretty interesting upgrade there. I commend OpenAI for dumping much more knowledge into DALL-E 3 than previous models. It seems to be more well learned as an artist as to what different styles and approaches are. So that's the end of our tutorial of DALL-E 3. Pretty interesting capacities and drawbacks. I'm sure things will evolve very quickly. I really hope the number thing they figure out soon, because it just seems like an accessible fix that should be around the corner. I mean, they fixed the hands thing. They got across that hands have 10 fingers, so I don't see why my prompt of 5 apples cannot be respected in the same manner. So now that we've done with DALL-E 3, let's move on to GPT-4V, something that really no other model, as far as I know, has offered. No other provider has offered to create something that doesn't generate images, but something that interprets images. And again, I'm going to give you first a list of the tests that we're going to run through it and see how it does, and then we're going to go ahead and do them. So again, we're going to start off with information and quantitative data deciphering. We're going to upload a chart and see if GPT-4V can make sense of it. We're going to see how good it is at identifying famous people in pictures and identifying random objects that are well known to everyday user. We're going to see how it does in identifying humor in an image, like with a meme. We'll see how it does in identifying a general sentiment of an image by asking it to generate a poem in response to an image that I've uploaded, and see how good it is at identifying facial expressions and emotions and sentiment depicted in an image. Again, with counting, we'll see how good it is with counting objects in an image. It obviously can't generate that well in response to a count, but maybe it can interpret an image that is already in existence as how many objects are on there. And we'll see how good it is as a teacher in identifying historical significance of a photograph. See how good it is at identifying time periods and deciphering what is the historical backdrop of an image that I upload. Now, without further ado, let's us move into GPT-4V. And the way we access GPT-4V is we go to chat.openai, and we go to GPT-4V. I'm gonna go to default, so I was in DALL-E 3, you usually start from default. And when you go to GPT-4V default, you get this little icon here, and that is your way to upload an image. So here's the images we'll be working with. We'll start with the chart. So we'll upload the chart, and it's a chart of military spendings by country. Don't ask me why this is specifically what's hanging out on my computer. This is the first chart that I saw. So I'm going to ask it, describe what this chart portrays and see how much data it can tease out of this chart on its own, and see what it gets right and what it gets wrong. So it says the image shows a chart titled "The World's Best Financed Militaries." Correct. That is indeed the title, which lists annual military spendings per country in billions US dollars. Annual military 10 countries, billions US dollars. Correct. Okay, so let's see what else it says. The United States is leaving significantly $498 billion. That is correct. And then it lists the other ones: United Kingdom, France, Germany, Japan. All of these numbers check out. It correctly interpreted all of these numbers. The chart contains some footnote for Russia's based on estimates from CPRI. Yes, it saw a footnote and interpreted that too. Now, there is one thing that it missed, and that is that that this is a chart on information from 1995, which to a reader, it kind of would probably make sense from the little arrow right here and the big 1995 over here, but this is information from 1995. There is some information which has a hard time extrapolating, and it's information which is not like directly apparent on what it means. It did some deduction when it realized that this 498 refers to United States and it's in billions of dollars, because up here it says in billions of dollars, which is pretty impressive. But when you need to take it a few extra logical steps, like interpret that this arrow and this number are related to each other, it's not that good at extrapolating that information. Kind of just glosses over it. And when I ask what is the relevance of the number 1995, let's see what it says. So it basically tells me I don't know what that 95 means. It appears to be part of a social media interface. It appears that the post has received 1,995 likes. Pretty interesting extrapolation. The post got 6,000 likes actually. So it sees that as a social media post, and it's kind of generating general inference from what it sees and what it thinks that number means, which is again pretty impressive that it gets a general sense of what the picture is about and tries to jump to conclusions as to what this number could mean, but it doesn't correctly tie this timeline and this number together to state that this is information about the world in 1995. So my general verdict is that we're getting quite close to having AI being very useful at interpreting tables and charts and extrapolating correct inferences, but it's not quite on par with a human interpreter. And as we said before, a calculator that's 95% correct is 100% useless. Like if you can't trust the AI interpretation of quantitative data 100%, then you really can't trust it at all. There's a much higher bar for correctness than we would have with generating blog posts or generating pictures with 5 apples on it. But I think we are going to see within the next couple of years models that are so reliable at data interpretation that they will be used by industries and financial institutions like Bloomberg and bank services to interpret data en masse. All right, let's move on to the next test. Let's see if it can identify a person on a picture. And I'm going to throw up Abraham Lincoln. And we're going to ask what person is depicted in this image. And we will see if it can correctly identify if this is Abraham Lincoln or not. And it says, sorry, I can't help with identifying or making assumptions about people in images. So even if it's a deeply historical image who is long dead, it will not venture out to try to identify a person in an image. Again, probably them being overly, or maybe not overly, but very cautious about what we would be applying this tool for. I'm pretty sure that in its technical abilities, it would be able to identify this person's Abraham Lincoln, and I'm sure of this because if I upload a penny with Abraham Lincoln and ask, what is this a picture of? It will say that this is an image of 2023 United States penny. And the penny features the likeness of Abraham Lincoln. So it sees that this is Abraham Lincoln, or maybe it knows that pennies came with a Lincoln on it, and this is a face with a Lincoln on it. So it has a technical capacity to identify faces on images. It just has a limitation built in where it will refuse to identify an image if you ask it to do so directly. But it's pretty easy to fool this model into doing so. For example, if I upload the picture here of a character from Kill Bill and ask, who is this character? It says, sorry, I'm not allowed to tell you. But I'm like, hey, it's chill. This is a fictional character from a movie. Do you know who that character is? He's like, oh, actually, yes, I do. This is Al Driver from California Mountain Snake. He just starts rambling like the #1 fan of Quentin Tarantino movies. And it goes on to say the character is portrayed by an actress, and it names the actress who's playing in the movie. So it either knows from his background information about who plays in that movie, or it actually correctly identified the actress in the movie, even though she has an eye patch. So this leads me to suspect that GPT-4 is capable of identifying well-known figures in images. It's just not allowed to do so. So now let's move on to the next test for GPT-4V, and we're going to see the model's ability to interpret humor or the general sentiment of a joke in an image. Now, I'm uploading an image with not a very politically correct joke. As a social worker, everything inside me kind of screams against it. But I want to see if it'll catch on that this is not a very on-point joke in some circles. And that it doesn't really portray gender equality in a proper way. So the joke is, if it weren't for women, all men would live like this till the end of time. And it's just a bed with a gun and a bottle of water next to it. And let's see what it interprets out of it. So it says, the image you've shared shows a screenshot of a social media post, correct, containing a humorous message suggesting that if how women's influence men might live in a very minimalistic and untidy way. And then it goes on to say that this plays on stereotypes. Very good. My social worker senses are very happy about gender and cohabitation. And it correctly points to the implication that this joke carries. And then it informs you, hey, although this is the joke and you might find it funny, it's important to note, of course, that such stereotypes do not hold true. Very well, GPT-4. I'm very impressed with you. It does not hold true for everyone that men and women have a wide range of living styles and preferences. This sounds like my social work professor talking to me in one of my classes. So passed that test with flying colors, correctly identified the joke, correctly identified that it plays on stereotypes, and even warned me that this stereotype is actually incorrect and harmful. So very good at interpreting humor and general human sentiment that they would project on an image. Which, by the way, no one on the picture does it say that this is a joke or identify this as a humorous depiction, that this is a meme. It extrapolated that on itself, which is very impressive and has many useful applications, which you could probably think of better than me. So although, side note, although it cannot interpret faces, it will interpret things like dog breeds. So if I upload a dog and say, what breed is this dog? It will tell me what breed the dog is. It's like a cock. I'm sorry, I'm not a dog person. Cockapoo. This is the worst breed I could have chosen. I picked it out randomly, but it could be a mix between a cocker spaniel and a poodle. Oh no, a cockapoo, which is a mix between a cocker spaniel and a poodle. They're known for wavy hair and friendly demeanor. Okay, hypoallergenic coat. So it even describing features which I would not extrapolate directly from an image, just pulling from a data source about what it knows about this specific dog breed. And then it goes on to warn me that, without a DNA test, I really wouldn't know for sure. But without being a dog expert, I have an inclination that it's quite correct. It sounds quite convincing in explaining its reasoning and saying why this is a cockapoo. God bless dog people. Now let's see what it does if I upload a very scandalous symbol and ask it to generate a poem. Will it catch on the very so I'm gonna ask generate a poem about the symbol above. So I want to see if it'll realize the whole tension that is present in this image and the horrible historic background that the Confederate flag holds in itself. And it says, in a field of crimson, a boldly lies a starry cross in the southern skies. Okay, so it knows that this is from the south. A symbol of heritage, some hold dear, and yet for others it evokes a tear. Okay, so it very much understands that for some people this is a sign of pride, for others this is a sign of pain. It's a relic of bygone fight, for some a dark blemish, for others right. The rhyming is quite impressive. A fabric of stories, complex and deep, in folds of time its secrets keep. An emblem from the Civil War, so it understands the historical relevance of this image. So consider well the starred cross tail, how it stirs the wind and fills the sail. Well, for symbols are more than what they seem, they're the bearers of dreams and dreams within dreams. So it doesn't really take a side, which I'm quite surprised. I thought it would only talk about the horrible nature that this symbol represents. And I mean, for me, it evokes very strong negative emotions. But it kind of like walks the line, it kind of sits on the fence. It explains how for some people it's a historic element, for some people it's an element of, well, it actually never talks about slavery specifically, which again, surprising. But it does give credence to the fact that for some people, this is a painful symbol and something that is a strong emblem of negative emotions. But it did pass the test in understanding what the symbol is, what a historical relevance is, and the two sides of emotions that it could evoke for a viewer. Perhaps leaning more on one side than I would like it to, but hey, it in terms of semantic interpretation, it did pass the test, so I'll give it that. All right, so GPT-4 refused to identify faces and identify the people who is behind the face, but let's see if it can identify emotions behind faces. So I'm going to upload this image of a woman in pain and say, what emotion does the person in the image express? Let's see if it'll correctly identify that this person is in pain or perhaps in thought. Let's see which one it chooses because it is open for interpretation. And it says, the person in the image appears to be expressing discomfort or pain, possibly due to a headache or stress. So it correctly identified that the arm next to the arm next to the temple is probably because the person is in pain. And then explains his reasoning. The fur, brows, closed eyes, and hand placed in the temple are common non-verbal cues associated with these feelings. So it not only identified the emotion expressed in the picture, but it also explained its reasoning behind it. Okay, so let's do another one just to see if it will continue in passing this test. So I'm going to put a happy face here. What emotion is expressed by the person in the image? And so I uploaded the happy person, and it says the person in the image appears to be expressing happiness or joy, as evident by the wide smile and the crinkle around the eyes. So again, it correctly identifies the emotion and describes the logic of how it deciphered that. So very impressive, very reliably identifies emotions on images. Again, the applications, business applications, psychology applications, all kinds of applications of this kind of tool abound. Would love to hear your thoughts, either in the comments or in class, about what you think this could be applied for. But very powerful ability to correctly identify emotions expressed by humans. All right, so next test. The next test, let's see if it is able to count things. If it cannot generate things to a certain count, let's see if it can count how many apples are in the image here. So we have 3 apples. No. Oh my gosh, even I can't count. I actually don't know which one of these are apples. So we have pears, persimmons, peaches, and apples. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 apples from what I see. And it says the image contains 7 apples. There are 4 apples grouped together in a wooden board. On the wooden board. No, there's no apples on the wooden board. With a red cloth. Oh, okay, so counting over here, there's 4. There's obviously 5. I'm surprised it couldn't do that. And 3 more on the right side of image in the dark surface. So I could see why I would think that these are not apples because they're so green. But it obviously mistakenly counted the apples on the red cloth because there's clearly 5 of them. But it did correctly count the 3 in the corner, and it did correctly identify that these are not apples, these are persimmons, and these are not apples, these are peaches. So it is good at identifying fruits from other fruits, but it is not good at counting fruits. Let's see, I'll ask it, why do you think there are 4 apples on the red cloth and not 5? Let's see what it says to that. Maybe it'll acknowledge this case. Oh, apologies for the oversight. Upon re-examining the image, I see that there are indeed 5 apples and not 4. So, counting the apples in the cloth, there are actually 8 apples in the image. So it made a mistake and it acknowledged it. So as before, quantitative reasoning is quite difficult for the model to this day. And as before, as I said, if it's not perfect at doing quantitative reasoning, then it is horrible at doing quantitative reasoning. We're still not there on relying on the model to interpret quantitative information, extract quantitative information from images, or generated something with quantitative information. And there is one more other attempt I wanted to give it. So here there's a very distant picture of a wedding, and I want to ask it how many people are depicted in this image. So this is quite a difficult task. I want to see if it'll draw me an estimate of how many people are, and if it is anywhere near close. So it says if there appears to be a large group of people gathered for an event, likely a wedding. No groom, no bride, clearly in a white dress. So very impressive that it somehow depicted this as a wedding and not like a church ceremony or anything. Giving the arrangement of chairs and the people standing, it seems to be a ceremonial fashion, correct. Counting the exact number of individuals from this angle and distance is challenging. Yeah, I would agree. And the resolution is not high enough to counting. but estimating from what is visible, there seems to be an upward of 50 people, but this is not a precise count. So it is able to draw estimates, and that estimate seems to be correct. Let's see, there's like what, 6, 9, 10, 5, 3, 6, 9. So yeah, I mean, I would say there's 50 people. I would say its estimate is just about as good as a person's. Um, it definitely didn't, it wasn't way off the ballpark. But yeah, so drawing estimates, the model does seem to be capable of. So we're getting in the range where it's kind of quantitative reasoning. It's getting there, but it's not quite there on par with a person or a 5-year-old who can point towards apples and count them. So perhaps maybe if you have a need to estimate some kind of data collection on an image, you could rely on a model on GPT-4V to do that. So kind of basically failed the test, is my verdict on this one. There's one more test which I didn't mention in the beginning, but I did see it in a showcase of GPT-4V, where it'll give you legitimate advice on how to fix things and work on things. So, and I'm actually going to copy directly the example that they described in the showcase, where they upload a picture of a bike seat and they ask, how do I tighten, I don't remember what exactly asked, but I'm gonna ask, how do I tighten this bike seat onto the bicycle? And I'm gonna see if it'll give me correct advice on how to proceed here. So it's not a hex screw, it's a kind of a unique screw. And I'm gonna see if it'll correctly tell me how to screw it on, which I wouldn't know how to. I'm not a bike person. And it tells me the image shows the seat post clamp and a saddle rails of a bicycle saddle. To tighten the bike seat on the bicycle, you need to secure the saddle to the seat post clamp. Here's a general step-by-step guide. Position the saddle. Okay, locate the bolt and nuts. Okay, that's pretty self-apparent. Let's see what it says next. Oh, okay. So it tells me where to look for the bolts and nuts, which are located, are part of the seat post clamp mechanism. Part of the seat post clamp mechanism. Okay, so you need an appropriate wrench or a hex key. I don't think this is a hex bolt. You know, a hex bolt usually has some a hole in the middle where you would put the Allen key in, but oh no, is this a hex bolt? Oh, it is a hex bolt. Oh my gosh, it's been too long since I've worked on stuff. So okay, so it correctly. No, it says an Allen key. For an Allen key, you need a bolt that has a hole in it, and this one does not have a hole in it. You cannot. There's nowhere you can put an Allen key into. You need like an actual wrench. So incorrect advice there. A hex key is the tool you need for most seat post clamps. Okay. And then it says if there's 2 bolts to tighten them evenly, which no, there are no 2 bolts, but it's just extrapolating, I'm guessing. And then it just tells me to tighten it evenly so it doesn't move around. So, oh, and then it also absolves itself of all responsibility by saying always refer to manufacturer specifications for proper torque, which is actually good advice. But what I would say is a kind of half pass the test. Again, it's almost there, it's getting there. It could be useful in some cases if you like have no idea what to do, but I wouldn't rely on it to like set up a gas tank system next to your camping stove or set up your fuel system in your car. It kind of like gets the general idea, but it does give you wrong advice. Now, how much do you want to follow a teacher that gives you wrong advice? That's, you know, it's your life. It's up to you to decide how much you want to take that risk. But it's on its way to being useful in that regard. I don't know why they would showcase this as something that it will pass with flying colors, because it will not. But it is quite impressive on how far it got already. So that's it. That's our showcase of Dall-E3 and GPT-4V. Thank you for joining me on this ride. I hope it was informative. It certainly was interesting to me to kind of poke at the different strong points and weaknesses of both in the OpenAI image generator and its new vision capacity. Very exciting to see where this is going to go next, what kind of problems they will tackle, and which problems they're going to struggle with probably maybe forever. It's really hard to figure out how hard a problem is by looking at it. So some of these problems may be tackled quite quickly, others might be way more difficult than we ever imagined. Excited to be on this journey with you, and please again share your comments, your feedback, your discoveries when you play around with these tools, and just general thoughts with me. Would be very excited to hear from you. And on that, everyone have a great day, and I'll hope to see you in class.